into the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hi, everybody, and welcome to The Ultimate Fighter, Season 21 here at AFTERBUZZ TV. I'm Suri Serano, and across the table from me is Mr. Jared Gilkerson. Welcome.
I got a Mister this week.
You did.
That's
you got
great.
a Mister. Well, you are a Mister.
It's sliding me down, and now I'm here.
I know.
A week break. It's good to be back.
Yeah, you took Jay Tan's spot, who we miss, and will be back next week if you're missing him. And next to you is Alexis Torres. Wow. Gorgeous hair today.
I was really scared that these headphones would look really weird with my hair all curly.
Not at all. It's pretty fabulous.
Compliments it.
Love
hey,
it.
man.
Hit her up. Tell her how much you love her hair.
Thanks, good.
Gorgeous. And then joining us in a few minutes is Vicente Luque, who won the fight this week, and we can't wait to speak with him. Alexis is fanning herself over across
I have the
table.
vapors, you guys.
What's happening over there?
Well, I hope he doesn't make fun of me for this when he watches it later, but I think he is so attractive.
He is pretty darn attractive.
There was
He's easy
baby
on the
talk
eyes.
too. I won't even say there was some baby discussions if he was with someone else in the pre-show. I guess.
That's
meeting.
right, with another professional fighter. I did hear that, Alexis.
Yeah, I was like, the good ones are always taken. I'm just kidding. I love you, my boyfriend at home. That's
oh my gosh. So you're going to be fangirling over there when we talk to him. I love it.
I will. Yes.
So we're in week 7. Season is flying by. It starts out, they're at 150 to 50 with Black Zillions up 5-1. We see Dan Lambert and the team getting those guys, in their faces about stepping up because they are very behind. This is like desperation time.
This looks bad. And it seems like Glenn is a little happier about. He's like, we're up on points, but more importantly, we're 5-1. Like he's not even. He doesn't. It's almost like he doesn't care about the game. He's like, we're killing them. I mean,
crushing at this point, crushing. And then unfortunately, Black Zillions Naka has a 30-day suspension. So they had to. Remove him from the show and bring in a new guy.
I know. I felt so
sad.
bad, though.
Yeah, I did too, because he seemed like a really nice guy. I'm going to cut that thought short, though, and introduce our guest. Vicente Luque is on the line.
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. How are you guys?
We are so good.
Great.
Thank you so much for taking time to join us tonight.
Thank you, guys.
We have a lot to ask you about. It was quite a fight. What an episode. There's your face. We can finally see you.
Okay.
Yeah, Alexis kind of finds you attractive. Not going to lie, you're easy on the eyes. I'm sure you hear that a lot.
Yeah, I do. A little bit.
It's hilarious. Jared, where do you want to go? Let's start off round 1.
Hey, Vicente, it's Jared here. Thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, sure, man. No problem.
I'd like to know before the fight. Obviously, you were one of the last guys of the Black Zillions gym to be picked. Did you have a pretty good idea that you'd be next up in the octagon?
I didn't know when I was gonna fight, and I wanted to fight right in the beginning, so I could have rest and maybe fight again. But I was there for my team, and whenever they needed me, I would be ready. And when in the last weeks, I kind of knew that it either would be me or Felipe, because that's who we miss, or we would put one of our other fighters. But I don't think we would put another fighter that had fought already. So yeah, I was kind of ready to fight.
He definitely, I'd say he's ready after watching the fight. And then also, did you know that Nathan Coy, it seemed like your team was pretty certain that Coy would be your opponent. Were you pretty sure on him? And also, how do you prepare for a fighter like Nathan Coy?
Yeah, we knew it was going to be Coy. We didn't think it was going to be anybody else. in their team because Montgomery had the medical problem, so he couldn't fight. And well, I was ready for. I knew he was a wrestler. All the team and everybody knows Nathan Coy is a great wrestler, and I just got ready with our wrestlers, Kamaru and Carrington Banks. They are great wrestlers, and they gave me knowledge, to defend the takedowns in the cage and in the middle and the center of the octagon. And I worked my striking because that's what I'm good at, and I could get the submission, so it was good.
So from what you remember from, we'll just step right into the fight. That's cool with you guys.
Yeah.
Round one, I think we all scored for you. I believe I could speak for everybody.
Yeah, no, you're correct.
It was a great round, and who was it? I think it was who was speaking before the fight about when you get two guys who aren't particularly specifically strikers.
Dana.
Was it Dana?
That was Dana.
He said that he was really interested in seeing you guys match up because you guys had such different styles and not being great strikers. Maybe you could defend that, him calling you not a great striker. But going into round one, what did you see from the outset? You were getting a lot of effective strikes and a lot of good kicks. You were definitely more effective in that area than Nathan Coy. So what was your strategy in round one?
No, my strategy was to start out boxing, not kicking too much in the first couple of minutes, and especially using the uppercut because I knew who was gonna shoot for takedowns. And sometimes when you throw a lot of uppercuts, you can get him in the timing when he's trying to shoot for a takedown. And after 2 or 3 minutes of the fight, then I would start kicking, and that's what I try to do.
Well, what I remember, especially from round one, was obviously Coy's eye getting pretty messed up right out the gate. And there was one point where you guys were, pinned up against the cage, and I noticed that there was some blood on your neck, but I couldn't tell whose blood that was at one point. So I didn't know if you actually got. I know that you got injured a little bit, but nothing too crazy. So I didn't know if you got scratched up on your neck or was that just Coy bleeding on you.
No, that was Coy's blood. It wasn't mine.
No, okay. I was just curious.
Yeah.
Now that you mentioned the sight of blood, when you cut him so early in the fight, as a fighter, what does that do to you? Do you go for that spot? Maybe go away from, does that change your strategy because you see him cut and maybe a little bit more vulnerable? Are you trying to aim for that cut to maybe end the fight?
It changes the fight in a way. I get more excited and I know that I have damaged him, so it kind of gives me more confidence. But I'm not really aiming at that eye. A cut it's not really painful. I've been cut in fights and it doesn't hurt, so it's not worth it aiming at it. I'm just gonna, if I hit it again, it's good, but it just gives you more desire to try to hurt him more.
It sounded like Dan Lambert over at ATT underestimated you going into this season. Why do you think he did?
All my fights have been in Brazil, so I'm not very known over here in the U.S. And maybe that's why they thought I wasn't. Maybe they thought they didn't know much about me. I don't have much footage in internet or anything, so I believe that's why they thought I was a weak opponent.
So what do you think? You just said why they might have underestimated you. What's your best weapon as a fighter?
Definitely, it's my striking. It has always been, and I started in Muay Thai. I started as a little kid in karate, and then I moved on to Muay Thai later on, and it has always been my striking. A lot of people think I'm from the ground because I've submitted a couple of black belts in my MMA fights, but I'm actually a striker.
The other thing I noticed a lot about this fight was the fact of just your stamina in general. I know that Coy is very known for going for the takedown every single time, in which he definitely delivered, by trying to do that. So it was very expected. So did you know going into it that was the one thing that he was going to go for, and how did you prepare for that specifically?
Yeah, all wrestlers are known for having very good cardio, and they can grind guys out, and even better fighters, they just get so tired of doing that work on the cage and everything. So I was really physically ready. We had Banky as our strength and conditioning coach, and he's awesome. And I was ready and I felt good. I didn't get tired. I could fight other 2 rounds if I needed to. So was great.
We saw in the corner during the show, they told Nate Coy in the opposite corner, you have to win this next round. Did you think that he would be desperate trying to pin you up against the cage just to win the round? I scored it for Nate, but just slightly. I think because he smothered you so much against the cage, you weren't able to control the distance and get those effective strikes like you did in the first round. So going into the second round, did you think you'd see a different Nate Coy?
Yeah, going to the second round, I knew kind of that he was going to try to grind me in the cage. He wasn't being able to get that takedown, so maybe he thought that by making me tired, he could eventually get the takedowns. And I actually, right after I fought, I thought I had won that round easily. But watching it again, it was a close round, and it could have gone either way. So, the judges did a good call, and it was good. I agree with the judges. Your
coaches were screaming that you shouldn't do jiu-jitsu so late in the match. Is that something that you've changed in your game since, or do you not agree? Do you not agree with that?
I actually agree with them in that situation. In the fight, I try to do that jiu-jitsu to kind of look offensive because I was going for the submission, but the judges normally score like whoever's on the bottom is losing. So I think it was a bad call at that moment, but that's more like, I don't know, it's different. It depends on the judges also.
So what's the vibe like in the gym after you go 2 rounds? It's a little different on television. Do you know, hey, we're definitely going to a third round, or did you think after the first 2 rounds that this thing was over and you'd won the fight?
As soon as the round finishes, we go back, and the referee already told us that before the fight starts, they tell us that don't take out your gloves, just sit and act like if there's going to be a third round because we never know what's going to happen. And then the judges outside, they decide what's going to happen, and we're just like, we're ready. If they're going to have a third round, we're ready to fight, and if not, they let us know. So I didn't think there was going to be a third round, but I was ready. I was waiting for a third round.
So when they actually did confirm that there was a third round, what was going through your mind at that time?
I was gonna go there and keep on doing what I was doing and try to not get caught on the cage. Not try to keep a distance. And I didn't want to walk backwards. I wanted to keep keeping pressure so that I could dominate the octagon. And at the same time, that's a good thing for wrestlers because they like you to walk into their takedowns. So I was kind of trying to walk him down, but at the same time not go too much forward and put too much pressure and be taken down. So,
did Nate do anything that surprised you?
Not really. I expected that that's what he was gonna do, and actually maybe his cardio surprised me a little bit because a couple of my teammates said that he wasn't so good at cardio, but at the same time, being a wrestler, you expect them to have good cardio. So, but mostly he did what I expected he was going to do.
Let's jump into round 3.
Yeah.
This is the round right here, round 3.
Yeah.
And as a fan, you had that thought going in that this would be one of the more exciting rounds of the season because you two seem to be really going for it. More than some of the other fighters earlier in the season. They were kind of, they're pacing themselves. You guys had a really good pace about you. Third round, you're starting to hit your strikes a lot more accurately again. You had an amazing kick to his stomach.
That was so great.
That he had the delayed reaction, and then he lunged and tried to take you down kind of in defense of that to maybe show he wasn't hurt. Kind of take us through round 3 and what you remember all the way, I guess, to the finish.
Well, in round 3, it's like I said, I was trying to keep my distance, and I try to use my kicks better in that round. I noticed that he was keeping his body, very open, and he didn't want to get hit on the face. So I try to mix it up a little bit, make him think that I was gonna hit him in the face, and use the body kick. It worked, but I couldn't finish the fight with that. And as soon as I was able to kick, he tried to shoot, and that's when we got into a scramble. And once I get down and counter choke, I know after I close it, I know it's very hard that somebody's gonna get out of it. So I was pretty confident I was gonna finish the fight at that point, and I finished, and he didn't really do the right defense. He tried to push into me, but I don't think he should have done that. Maybe he should have stood up or something else. So I knew it was going to finish at that point.
Well, I thought it was a great fight, and I say congratulations to you, because I know that Suri and I agree that this was the most exciting fight of the season so far.
I'm with you on that.
Now that you've won, what do you take away from this fight that you can learn for fights for future reference, and then also your whole take on just the show in general? Like, what advice would you give to people who would be doing the show next season? So that's 2 questions.
Yeah, well, from the fight, I take, to keep on doing what I do and being ready for fights, because in other fights of mine, I have maybe not trained enough wrestling and been taken down. And I think that's why they thought that it would be an easy fight for them. And I saw that if I really train wrestling and I really have my cardio on point, I can do a 3-round fight with any wrestler, no problem. And, well, for whoever else is going to be part of a show like this, I think that mainly they got to keep the focus. Inside the house, it's kind of hard. You don't know when you're going to fight, and you wait so long till you fight. Like in my case, I waited so long till I fight. You can lose the focus. You can forget why you're there. So you got to keep in training and keep it on your mind that you're here to fight and to win, and nothing else matters.
It's a great attitude.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you the kind of fighter, we've seen a few fighters kind of crumble under the lights and the cameras and all the action that was going on, at these fights, at these gyms. It's such a loud environment. Are you an athlete that thrives in that kind of environment? Was that fair?
Yeah, you could say that. I like to be, I like the whole idea of the show, and when I find it where the most people are there watching, it's always better, because we're fighters, and this is a show. What we do, MMA, is for the people, for the crowd to watch it. So it excites me. The more people are watching, it excites me and makes me fight better.
You mentioned earlier that you specifically mentioned 3-round fights, and you're able to go 3-round fights now against people who have better cardio. I was checking out your record earlier this week, and congratulations! I saw you just fought. What was that, about 10 days ago, and won?
When?
It said it said June 21st on your, but maybe you didn't fight that recently, or maybe it was the year before. Maybe I'm mistaken.
No, it was 2014.
Okay, it was the year before. I just noticed that was the first fight that went 3 rounds that you won. Previously, that you were, I noticed you were 0-4-1. So I guess earlier in your career, why do you think you struggled badly in the fights that went that long?
I think there are a couple of reasons. One of them is the cardio, especially on the wrestling. I don't have problems like striking and just doing grappling, but when you mix that together, it's very different. Anybody that trains MMA, they know how different it is than to train just jiu-jitsu or to train just whatever striking. So that whole mix is what made me tired. It would tire my muscles, and then I would eventually get taken down, and I would be normal. Usually my losses are by submission or by just losing on points because the guy took me down and grinded me. So, I worked a lot on that, and I worked a lot on my wrestling and a lot on my cardio. So I'm happy. Like my fight before I got into the house was my first win in a decision, and in the house I could fight 3 rounds, and it was great. I actually liked fighting 3 rounds because it's like proving to myself that I can go to distance and do it well and keep performing the 3 rounds as best as I can.
So as a young fighter, because I noticed earlier in your career that you had a streak of 3 fights in a row where you went 0-2-1. It was early on. This was back in 2010 and 2011. So as a young fighter, how do you... I know you said you worked on your cardio and you worked on a lot of things, but I always wonder as a young fighter how that's not so discouraging to the point where you just say, the hell with it and leave, or you just, it goes so downhill from there. How do you recover and just keep pushing forward like that?
That's a funny thing, because where I come from in Brazil, we're not, it's not a big gym. Like, we're big in our city, but not through Brazil, and we don't have much, nobody really knows who we are. So it was really hard for me to keep in the sport. I wanted to stop a couple of times, but the first time I fought Muay Thai, I was 15 years old, and that's when I decided that I wanted to be an MMA fighter. And I promised myself that no matter how bad it was, I would keep fighting and I would keep trying to get my dream. So mainly that's what made me continue. I would remember what I promised myself, and I wasn't going to break a promise that I did to myself. So that's why I kept on the sport.
That's awesome.
That's the attitude to have for this show. I mean, that's the attitude that Dana's looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You touched on your age when you had your first Muay Thai fight. I just want to. You come from a family of athletes. Your mother was a black belt in karate, and your father was a rugby player. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And so you must have started in sports and athletics at a very young age. What age did you start any form of martial arts?
Well, the first time I started karate, I was 3 years old, and my mother practiced, so she would take me, and she would take me as a baby. And when I was 3 and I could walk, I had coordination to do stuff, I started training right away.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Which is awesome, because my brother also started when he was 3, and he just turned 14, and he's a 3rd-degree black belt. So,
wow.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Started young. You started young.
So what caught on for him? That's what I want to know. Like early on, you're karate at 3, and what interested you the most? You know what? I guess the word I'm looking for. I mean, you got into jiu-jitsu. You did karate. What's the best aspect that you like about fighting?
Definitely Muay Thai and kickboxing in general. Before, I used to want to be a kickboxer also. If I could do the two, I would, but I chose MMA later on. But kickboxing, striking I love striking, and it's what I always loved.
How long have you been in the States?
Well, I was born in New Jersey.
Right.
So I was born in New Jersey. I lived there until I was 6 years old, and then my parents got divorced. So I went back with my mother to Brazil. She's Brazilian. And my dad is from Chile, but he's a citizen now for many years. So he kept on living in New Jersey. And I would come back and forth and visit him. And so I've always been coming to visit once in a while. And I really came to Black Zillions the first time in the beginning of 2014. I came for 3 months to train. And that's when they got to know me and everything. And after that, I came back for the show.
I was just going to ask you, how did you choose the Black Zillions? How did you end up there?
Well, I know Guto Inocente. He's my friend back. He's from my city. And I know another guy also that is in the show, Felipe Portela. He's been in the Black Zillions for a while. And I actually fought him, but after that, we became very good friends. So I got in touch with them, and I said that I wanted a challenge. I wanted to come here and especially train with the big names so that I could prove myself that I could be in this sport and I could fight at high level. So I talked to them, and I came train for a couple months.
I love. See, this is great. You're young enough. You're 23, right?
Yeah.
So you were about 12, 13 years old when the UFC really turned it around and made it what it is today. So when you were a kid growing up and you're just involved in all kinds of martial arts, did you idolize a certain fighter in UFC?
When I started training, I would watch a lot of videos of Vitor Belfort and Vanderlei Silva. So being here and training with Vitor Belfort actually was something like one of the biggest honors I've ever had, to train with somebody. I really got happy for that.
Did it take you a while to adjust, like, being around him because you were so excited and you looked up to him for so long?
No, that I'm excited every time I'm around him, but it doesn't bother me, like, in a way, like, I don't get nervous or whatever. I just like being around him, and whenever I can train with him, it's great.
Who do you currently like in the UFC?
Well, there are a couple of fighters I like. I really like Jose Aldo's style. And I also like Conor McGregor at the same time.
Nice.
I like McGregor's style. But in that fight, I'm rooting for Jose Aldo just because he's Brazilian and I'm from Brazil too. So, But I like McGregor's style of fighting, and I don't like everything about the way he is in media and everything, but up to a certain point, I don't disagree with the way he takes, the way he lives and whatever. But mainly like these fighters, and I like also Anthony Johnson is a fighter I look up to a lot. I think he has a great style, and I like those kind of guys that really have a lot of knockout power and always press forward. So.
Were you there in Vegas for the fights?
Yeah, I was.
What was that like?
It was exciting, and at the same time, it was a bit, we were disappointed at the end of the fights. Not disappointed at the guys, but at the results. But it was a great experience anyway. We could see, like, at the same time, look back and think, hey, I got to work everything. I can never have a flaw, because especially when you're fighting for the belt, that's what's going to make a difference. Any little mistake that the guy can take advantage of is what's going to make the difference on the win. So it was good for me. It was a good experience.
Did you have a moment in the arena where you actually look around and take it in and visualize yourself there?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely did. I really like how silent it is when people are fighting, because all the places I fought, when I'm fighting, everybody's screaming all the time. And it's funny because at MGM, everybody like concentrates and watches the fight, and they will only like make noise when something's going on. So I thought that was pretty cool.
So, go ahead.
Since we already talked about the fighters that you look up to, is there ever a chance that you would want to fight them at one point, or maybe someone that you're actually pretty excited, like, hey, I saw you fight, I want to fight you next?
Well, a guy that I've always been very much fan of him is Thiago Alves. I've always loved him, and I was rooting a lot for him against Condit. I wanted him to be Condit. But I always also wanted to fight him because I think our styles match a lot, because we're both strikers. So he would be a guy that I'm a big fan of, and I would like to fight him if it happened one day.
Nice.
Okay, Vicente, you go to the fights in Vegas, you're heading back to your hotel, put your head down, you dream, you start dreaming. Every fighter has that dream of their perfect fight. So you got Thiago in the ring. What is how do you envision your perfect fight? Are you knocking them out in 13 seconds like Ronda Rousey, or are you taking them, to the end of the fight and making them submit? Like, what's your dream perfect fight?
If I could choose like how the fight would go, it would be 3 rounds, and I would knock him out in the last round.
Nice.
With like 1 second left.
That's a great question.
That's also my dream. So
That's your dream?
Yeah, 3 rounds and the last 2 seconds, I knock somebody out or tap them out. So
that's great drama. I mean, whenever a fight can end, right near the end, or and that was similar to what he did on The Ultimate Fighter. I mean, it was getting near the end,
so good.
But then he had it locked in. That was great.
It was my favorite fight of the season. By far.
Yeah.
By far. It was the most fun, most entertaining, and for me, the most action.
Definitely.
Yeah. I completely agree with you.
Not a lot of house drama in that episode.
Yeah. So speaking of house drama, there wasn't a lot of drama this week, and what was that like for you? Were you able to stay clear of most of any of the drama in the house while you were there?
I wasn't part of much of the drama. I'm a quiet guy. Yeah, I'm a quiet guy, so I'm never. Every time they had some discussions.
Freeze frame.
Freeze frame. Uh-oh.
Well, hopefully he pops
Alexis
back
is
in
happy.
there.
But I was there to win the fight, so.
You froze up there. Could you repeat your answer, please?
Yeah, no, I said that I'm a quiet guy, and I'm always out of trouble and whatever. I just heard I was never in the middle of any discussion. I just heard about them, but I was focused, and I wanted to, I was there thinking about the fights, and I know it's a TV show, but I wasn't really kind of trying to show whatever for TV. I was just trying to fight. I wanted to fight and fight good.
keeping your head down, doing your thing. You don't drink. You don't party. It's quite smart.
Yep.
You definitely take your, being an athlete seriously. I like to hear that and see that in fighters, especially.
Yeah.
It works different for everyone, because you can hear stories of, guys or girls being able to go out and party all they want, and then when training happens, they're clean for a few months, and then they go back. I mean, whatever works. To be honest,
Yeah.
I think any version can work. But yeah,
Any version, Jared? I'm not so sure.
no,
I would argue with on that. No,
what?
we would.
You don't think you can be a drunk and fight?
No, I don't think so.
Jackie Chan can do it.
I don't think so.
They should allow you to be drunk in the ring.
No, that sounds like a terrible idea.
Come on.
Tell me you're kidding. You're joking.
Not really. I mean, come on. This is me. I'm a wrestling fan, so I'm hearing crazy stories like with Ric Flair and all these guys
That's
partying all
true.
night, and they go and put on a great show the next day. So
It's not
But you
professional
can
fighting.
But I think there'll be a lot of fighters that say they do
This is
party
getting
and do
awkward.
drink. I think you can. But I love that he doesn't, and everyone has
we
their
will
own method.
continue this
Yeah.
after the show. I'm kidding. We're,
Vicente, I actually had a question. Since I admire the fact that you decided to do that, whether Jared thinks so or not.
No,
I'm just kidding. When did you decide? I mean, I don't know if that was just a thing that you've always. I mean, obviously this is something you've always done. But when did you actually decide? Like, I'm not drinking. I'm going to just. This is what I'm going to do. Be clean.
Well, I decided that when I started training Muay Thai and competing, and well, it was just something that I chose. But I'm very open in the sense that I think everybody should do, just like he was saying, everybody should do what they feel like doing and what they feel good with. And this is just something I feel good with. But I have a lot of teammates that go in another way, and I don't criticize them, or I don't think they're wrong. I think they're right, and they should do what they feel good with. But I decided right away after I started competing and everything.
We know that not everyone was. I would say half the house was partaking in libations.
You think
No, they were.
half the house?
They were.
I love it like Jared was there. That's amazing.
No, they showed
totally
the house,
They showed?
with graves and everyone. They showed
Yeah.
kind of the, people drinking.
Was it
Bud
about
Light.
half the house, Vicente?
Well, there wasn't like many people fighting or I mean drinking or whatever. It was. The thing with Michael Graves, I didn't even like know that he was drinking that much. I didn't never see it. I think only their teammates knew about that. But on my team, nobody would drink. Like a couple of guys drank after their fights, but before that, they were all like pretty focused on the fights.
Why do you think Black Zillions up to this point have dominated so much? Has it been luck of the draw a little bit, or has it been that you guys just are so much more dominant than that gym?
They're better.
They're just better.
I think there are a couple of reasons. One thing I definitely believe is ATT didn't expect us to have a team strong enough to beat them. So I don't think they were ready for what we were bringing. And another thing is like we know how ATT is good and how long they've been in the MMA game. So we got ready for the best thing that they were gonna bring. So I think like we're just more ready to fight. We're in better shape, and we are complete. Every of our guys could fight standing or could fight on the ground. So I think we just have the more complete team.
How much time did you have to prepare before the season? When you all knew as a team this was happening? A couple months?
Well, we actually we had about 1 month. I was in Brazil, and they called me up like a month and 2 weeks before the show. So I came here. And we weren't sure who was going to be in the show, so it was we had 12 guys, and out of those 12 guys, we were going to pick 8. So we were really all like literally killing each other in training and practice to get that one of those 8 spots,
And then when did you find out the 8 spots? Right before filming?
We found out 2 weeks before we got to the house.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. It's intense.
I've always wanted to know if because this is a reality show.
Right.
And I've always wanted to know, we've had a few of the fighters talk, have some stories to tell. Anything you can kind of tease going forward, fight-wise, or possibly, you know, some fun shenanigans in the house?
This guy.
Look at his smile.
You know, I can't talk much about that. I just can say it's gonna really get exciting from now on. It does get much more exciting than it's been now, and everybody should keep on watching it. Like, a couple of people didn't like the fights how they were. I definitely think the fights get more exciting from now on.
Nice.
That's been
set the
consistent.
tone.
Every single guest we've had, they said you have to keep watching. It gets really exciting. This is like the start of it already, so I'm like, it's gonna get even better.
I love it. I hope we see you fight again. I know you can't tell us, but I hope we do.
Just wink.
Just wink. Give us a little nod. I'm just kidding. We're kidding. Only a little. Thank you so much for taking time tonight to join us. We certainly appreciate it and enjoyed speaking with you.
I know I did.
Thanks, guys, too, for the opportunity to be here.
Absolutely. Good luck with the rest of the season.
Thanks.
Thanks so much.
Cool.
Yeah. Wow. Alexis, are you breathing over there?
I'm okay.
Yeah, she didn't. I didn't hear anything
I was
the whole time.
holding. I was holding my breath the whole time. But I wanted to touch before we get out of here that something that he said was the fact that ATT is usually like the fact that they're not doing so well is because they're not really taking into consideration what these guys do. And I also like the fact that, yes, they have been around, they're veterans, all that kind of stuff. But what we all talked about today, especially with Vicente, was that nobody really knows about him because he's not very big out here in the States. So I feel like that was a good kind of strategy. So they can't really look into how they fight, because there's nothing on the internet or anything that they can look up per se. So they can still have that element of surprise, I feel,
Yeah.
That was
is why
make a
they're winning.
ridiculous baseball analogy to that.
here we go.
But it's the truth. Sometimes you'll see a young pitcher come up and just dominate, and then the veterans come around and they go, all right, I know this guy's tricks.
Right.
So I'm not sure if, you know, guys like Steve Carl and Nate Coy can adjust, but, you know, just like Dan said, after the fight, we didn't have enough, you know, in the footage that we had of Vicente, he didn't do these things.
Yep.
So because these guys are so low key, like you're saying, it could work out at the beginning. But who knows if they run into these veterans again down the road?
Yeah.
You know, they might adjust.
Yeah,
So
I think it's good for the show, but I don't know how it's going to do as time goes on.
yeah, it's great. Like,
Yeah.
see these young fighters. That's
I think
the
it's
best
awesome.
part.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was 13 years in between Nate
Yeah,
and Vicente.
that was crazy.
And Nate couldn't have been. You know, he's one of the coolest, calm fighters, and was just like, oh, yeah, I got beat. I can
Right.
learn things from younger fighters.
It's all in
doesn't
the
matter.
ponytail.
I mean,
That's what
well-
that is.
Or it was the front ponytail.
The front ponytail.
Yeah.
Oh my
gosh.
The frony.
You all, Alexis and Jared have a thing for Nate Coy's hair. 1 for and 1 against.
I love it. No, go ahead.
I love his hair when it's not tied up in that weird unicorn horn that he's got going on there. I think he's great. I just think it looks weird when he's like bouncing around for his next thing. I just think, no. And I was like,
gosh.
ah,
He likes
snip.
He likes it because it's a very 90s Jonathan Taylor Thomas look.
Oh, God.
Like,
I don't think that's why he likes
during
it.
Tough Dog. No, he's a huge JTT fan. I know.
Are you serious?
Allegedly. No, I'm kidding. No, he's not.
He's never gonna come on the show.
He looked great on Tough Talk. Great hair.
No, he looks good without the ponytail. Like, even in his promo picture with it just slicked. Oh, fantastic.
The thing is, he has to put it up like that because
I was just going to say that.
yeah.
Because he pulls it
grows
back,
out
it will
so ridiculously.
Oh yeah,
fall.
no, it will look
Okay.
terrible if
So
he does
it's a
that.
serious hair discussion.
Yes.
Well, if they can talk saunas, we can talk hair. That's my rule.
I love that you're all in about the hair, Jared. I love it. I mean, at what point does Dan Lambert not underestimate anybody on the Black Zillions team after week getting their butt kicked, basically?
You were talking about the replacements earlier.
Yes, I
I'm
was.
super excited.
And Alexander Polga that's his nickname. Polga is the Black Zillion, the guy that's come in, right? And then ATT brings in Cristiano Saldano Souza.
He looks like.
He looks like a beast.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know why, I just have this gut feeling that he's going to just tear it up in the ring.
I thought that about a lot of ATT guys. You know, I thought Grillo could be legit, and they had some veterans that have fallen short. So I just don't know.
We don't know.
about this.
I am with you, Alexis, on this one.
Yeah.
Though.
You
I
like
am
this
with
guy?
you. Yeah,
Yes.
I do. I have a good feeling about him too. The one guy that they're going to replace. And speaking of only replacing one guy, Dana White, expressed that he's known Dan Lambert a long time. He wasn't surprised by his decision to kind of stick by his team, and that's like his deal, implying that he's very loyal and fierce, and that's his team. But is it a good business decision? So it's interesting that he questioned that, and I questioned it too. I kind of was with White on that.
He still has the option to add someone else now at this point, right? Or is it just
that has not been expressed?
Yeah, I have no idea.
I don't think
because
so.
Dana just wants him to. I mean, obviously he's the head of the show. I mean, he's producing the show, so it's you guys are getting your butts whooped. Bring someone in who can win this thing and make it closer. So yeah, he's just trying to motivate all these guys. So and they should.
I think if I was Dan, I would have replaced another guy too as well.
Who would you have replaced? I mean, if you both were picking, who would you take off that team?
Your guy that makes all the amazing noises.
Yes, I agree with her.
Grillo.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, he might be too much of a wild card now.
Do an impression. I know you want to do it.
That's how you get ready for a fight.
That is the best thing ever.
He just seems like he's a little on edge, which can be good for some people, but he just fell flat. So I agree. That's a great pick.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You could replace another guy. You have one guy already out because of sick, being,
I had this
creepy.
Being creepy.
Medically, it was already gone. So why not replace one more guy? You've already lost how many fights?
I feel like this
give yourself a fighting chance.
I feel like this is the time to take risks for someone who's already this far down in points, technically. Yeah. So, I mean, I understand playing it safe to a point, but if you're losing, you might as well. Again, you have literally nothing to lose at this point.
Right.
And then guys like Graves, who I feel like he was on the first show, and I thought he would show something else, but maybe it'll take something like a guy who got beat early, him or Steve Carl, to come back and then, show a different side.
That time to kind of settle into the whole process,
and everything's worth more too. I mean, so it's still not out of hand. It's not even
points, close. Right, left, 500.
5 fights, but each fight in the third round's worth 100, right?
Yeah, so we got the 4 finals, which are 100, so that's 400, and then there's 50.
450 left.
Oh, there's 100.
No, see, now I'm lost with numbers now.
450 left. I thought it was 500. They said 500.
Is there 500 left?
Maybe.
Because I thought, because you got week 9 is worth 50, and then 10,
I remember them
10,
saying
11, 12, or maybe there's, you know what, we don't know. No.
I think it's 500. I'm sure you'll let us know.
Either way, they have teased. We've had fighters on the past. They've teased that it's going to be close.
Well, in the preview, did you guys watch the preview for the rest of the season?
Yeah.
It looks like they win 2 in a row. ATT wins 2 in a row because they said something about making it 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Ooh. I don't know if you saw that. You didn't catch it?
He was concentrating on my hair.
Looking at too much hair and Glenn, the soundbite of him yelling that they love, he's just like, we got screwed. He's just always, he's a very emotional person.
Yes,
he was more emotional when he was hugging Naka than Naka was.
Yeah, he did say that.
I was like,
I feel a little, I have a soft heart for Naka as well.
Yeah.
He just seems like
he's soft.
But it's not a bad thing.
Like a nice guy. He's
just passionate because he not lost his chance, but because of the fact that it was such a bad loss.
Yeah.
That that this is an opportunity that it just got short. Also, Joseph Boza in the chat says 450 next week is the last 50-point fight, then the 400-point fights.
So it is 450.
Yes. Yeah, 450.
450 left on the table.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of time.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's going to get better.
Get your butt in gear, ATT.
Joseph Boza just dominating. I love it.
He's just awesome.
He's the #1 fan. Thanks for watching again.
Thank you, Joseph. Shout out to you.
Yeah.
And real quick, if you guys, we would love for you to download us on iTunes and rate us and give us 5 stars. That helps us out tremendously. So please check us out over on iTunes. And of course, you can always find us on AfterBuzzTV.com and YouTube, iTunes, and SoundCloud. So last up, final bit of news that we were discussing before we started. New fights that were announced.
Come on,
changing subject off The Ultimate Fighter. So Cormier versus Gustafson. Wow. That is going to be intense. And then the other one is Luke Rockhold versus Weidman, which is the better choice, because I know Dana was going to give it to can't think of his name.
Think about it. Help.
The other dude.
We need help.
Yeah, Jacare.
I thought it was Jacare.
Jacare, yeah. So I'm glad that they went with Rockhold.
Yes.
I'm so happy to hear this.
It's going to be so good.
Which fight would you...
What are you going, Alexis? What do you think?
Oh, man. Weidman and... Wait, who's the first fight?
Cormier Gustafson.
Cormier.
Are you?
Yeah, why not?
Ooh.
I always usually go for the one that usually most people don't pick, just to see what would happen.
I picked Cormier this last fight for the title.
Really?
I didn't.
Yeah.
Oh.
I did not.
It's okay. Jay didn't either.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We're
Jay
wrong.
didn't either.
He bugs me.
Yeah,
so.
I'm gonna go with Cormier. I think it's gonna be a great fight.
I agree.
though.
I think he's
agree.
gonna win too. Weidman and Rockhold though. I'm excited for that.
It's gonna be
Luke
nuts.
just came out. Because he's just like the new star, just bang out of nowhere, and I'm picking him. I don't know when the fight's gonna be, but I'm picking him.
Yeah, I'm sure they announced that we didn't get the dates. We'll check on that.
Yeah,
We'll tweet it to you guys.
What do you think, Rockhold or Weidman? Alexis?
Oh, I said Weidman.
Did you say Weidman?
Yeah, I said Weidman.
You did.
Yeah.
You want to pick Rockhold?
split.
I could tell.
No. Oh no, I'm not going. I'm going with Weidman.
Okay.
100%. I'm going Weidman.
Ladies
I don't-
dominating.
He has not been given due credit in his career yet.
I completely
don't know
agree.
why. It's very strange. He's winning everything, and maybe it's
headlining
because he's more of a
pay-per-views,
calm
right?
guy. I don't know.
Ooh.
What?
He's headlining though. Isn't
Yes,
he? Yeah.
but they're not. He's just not. He's not appreciated like some of the other fighters are out there, and it's weird. You know what I mean? You know what I'm
It's
talking
coming
about.
around.
I totally understand.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was reading the chat because we got a lot of Weidman and Gus, Weidman and Gus.
Nice.
Yeah.
Who's everybody picking?
We got Muhammad who picked Weidman and Gus, and Joseph Boza didn't say anything. He just said Chris and Luke is the worst kept secret in the UFC.
Well, that wasn't a secret, yeah. That was definitely for sure. But it was going to go with the other guy, and nobody wanted that. Everybody wants
Yeah.
Rockhold. Okay. Well, it's going to be fun. I can't wait to find out when it is.
Yeah, it'll
No.
be some time because they all just fought recently.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, that's it, guys. We're going to wrap up. Where can we find you, Alexis?
You can find me all over the internet where Alexis Torres is or sold at atorres890. Also follow me if you like to see this or see my face and the sound of my voice. BlackHollywoodLive.com, Geek Nerd Tech. I talk about video game news, pop culture, and all awesome things like that.
Woo!
Thanks.
I want to buy one.
You should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jared, where can we find
You
you?
can find me on Twitter at Gilkerson Radio. Also, a couple more after shows here. iZombie.
This guy.
Whatever else I do. Marin.
a few.
But
Louis?
nothing is as intense. Louis is over.
Oh, Louis over.
Nothing is as
Stop
intense
here.
as this show, though. This is an amazing show. So you can find us here next week.
Yes, and I'm at Suri Serano on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Periscope. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later!
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.